And we're back with me, Johnny McMurray, on the On The Spot Football Podcast for yet another fantastic guest. An entrepreneur who has stepped in to steady the ship in Ballymena's biggest club in the Irish Premiership, Mr. Chris Selwood. Chris, how are you, sir?
Good, Johnny. Thanks for having me. I'm actually delighted to be here. So
good. Well, I appreciate it. You've jumped in, you've helped me. You've steadied this ship for this week, and obviously hoping to push us forward like Ballymena. But how are you? How are things?
Good. Busy. As ever, I've got a few different businesses going on, and obviously Ballymena United Football Club takes up a lot of my time. Probably takes up most of my time, to be quite honest. So, I sort of find myself doing something for the football club 7 days a week. So it is. It's a
full-time commitment.
It's a full-time commitment. Yeah. Obviously for the big money, Johnny.
Yeah. Well, this is it. Financial gains are essential in today's life.
On the big bucks, as they say.
As much as everybody thinks that you are, the reality probably is that you're
definitely
doing this
not
completely voluntarily.
Completely voluntary, yeah. And I do it because I love the club, and I want to see change happening, and I want to see the club moving forward. And the best way to do that is to get stuck in and do it. So, yeah.
You're not a man who doesn't mind getting his hands dirty. I think when you jump into the Ballymena as a chairman that you have a property business where you don't mind getting involved in the rubble from time to time, but kind of suits.
Used to get stuck into the rubble until not that long ago, to be fair. I had the gloves and the hard hat, and I'm in knocking down chimneys and
coats and stuff.
Yeah, all the PPE. So I'm in there getting the hands dirty and the hair dirty and dirt and all sorts of orifices, and so I've no problem with hard work. Being at a football club isn't like being in the building trade. With Ballymena United, we're having to start from the bottom, so you're sort of starting with this blueprint, almost like a set of plans, and trying to build things one wee bit at a time. You don't build a house overnight, and you don't turn a football club around overnight either. So, it's I'll not say it's been easy. I've been on the board since 2020, obviously during COVID. So that was tough because at the beginning, there wasn't really many meetings going on. There was a few Zoom calls and stuff like that, but face-to-face meetings might have been,
Plus the whole red tape of COVID, essentially.
Yeah, social distancing and all that. So
the league coming back playing.
Yeah, no fans in the ground.
Yeah.
So in those early days, I was lucky enough to get watching some of the games, but it was weird because, it was like standing watching a sort of Saturday morning league game. There's nobody there. You could hear everybody in the field.
Training game, wasn't it?
Yes,
it was strange.
Sort of behind closed doors as it was. So, yeah, it was strange. I got invited onto the board by John Taggart and the late Don Sterling, God rest him, back in 2020. We met in, I wouldn't say secret, in a local hotel. I'm not sure why we went to a local hotel rather than just a cafe in town. But listen, rumours start and whatnot. But I got invited onto the board. Probably as a local businessman. I think John at the time had said, there was a few of the older hands were looking to step away. Some of them had stepped away, and they were looking maybe someday. And I know I maybe don't look younger, but maybe I was younger than.
But you're a lot younger
than some of the people that have been there. Some of the old hands have been around the club for 25 and 30 years. So they were looking for somebody that. And I had sponsored the ball and the match and stuff with my letting agency business before that. So, I had a connection with the club, and I'd been a ball boy back in the day, and was around in the early 1980s when we had a bit of a team, and finished second in the league and won a couple of Irish Cups in the sort of early to mid-80s. Didn't see the 1989 Cup final because I'd moved to England at that point and lived there, lived out of Ballymena for quite some time. But yeah, big connection with the club, and when I got the opportunity, I was delighted to take it. I kind of felt privileged to be asked, but sort of scared at the same time. A wee bit nervous because I was going in, delighted to be asked, but thinking, what do I know about running a football club?
Yeah,
not a lot. My brother had run, been a coach, manager, or whatever of a local junior team, and I hear him talking about it and. It's difficult at that level. It's even more difficult at a higher level, when you're paying people and paying staff and players, and, there's a whole lot of stuff that you're maybe not aware of that you find out very, very quickly at what goes on at a local football club. So yeah, it was tough in the beginning. And then there was change very shortly afterwards. There was Don Sterling, as I said, passed away.
Yeah.
And shortly after that, the chairman stepped away. We had to act quickly, and I ended up being vice chairman, despite being probably one of the least experienced people around. But it was almost like a poison chalice, and myself and Matthew Armstrong was the chairman until the end of that season, the 2022-23 season, and then at the end of that season, we lost an Irish Cup final. I think you might remember that.
It was a bit unfortunate that stage. Yes.
A Ballymena legend coming back to hunt us.
Well, I wouldn't say legend, but they took me back. It was a good thing.
Yeah, we did. I think it was the 125th minute of a 120-minute match. But anyway, we'll move on.
These things happen, especially when your fingers are crossed for penalties.
It's funny because it just came up on YouTube there, and I watched it back a few days ago, and it was like, it doesn't get any easier to watch, to be fair. But and then the following year we played the Cruise again, and we got thumped.
Yeah.
And I think by that time, change was probably inevitable. Conversations had been taking place. And we ended up at the end of that season bringing in a new manager. We got Jim in, a young manager, first job. Again, a club legend, had captained the club for a number of years. At the time, when I think back, Jim being the best man for the job, what I admired, not only what he had done for the club as a player, but his honesty when he was being interviewed. He was the most honest out of them. I think people would have maybe swayed towards having somebody like Jim coming back to the club, but it made it easier when you saw Jim's honesty, and he didn't try to set the expectation level too high. And then I suppose you came back yourself then.
Yeah, I think that was one of Jim's first
signings. Yeah,
I couldn't actually wait. I had a conversation with Jim just as probably he kind of let me know that he was going for the interview stage type thing, and hoping that he was going to be following through and getting the job. And it was a kind of a question of, if I go back, would you want to come? And to be honest, at that stage I was ecstatic. I couldn't wait to go back. I always wanted to. I think I tried to under David, and it just didn't materialise because of one or two things at different clubs and being released and X, Y, and Z. But it was always somewhere where I felt like I wanted to go back. It was like home for me. Yeah, that way.
Well, I mean, there's a good atmosphere around the place.
It's a fantastic club.
Ballymena United is a great club. That we've maybe not had the success over the years that we feel we should have, or maybe that the size of the club has never won the league, and that's a big bugbear for a lot of people, and it's something we'd love to change, but it'll not be easy because football's changed. Even since I
used to change just every year,
each year the money that comes in, some of the wages that you hear that players are getting paid, the standards getting better. So it's been tough, and when you come back in, as you say, you were one of Jim's first signings. There wasn't a lot of money around. The season before that, we'd had to trim the wage bill. I think things have been well documented that there wasn't a lot of money floating around, and if we didn't make some tough decisions, maybe Ballymena wouldn't have been here, or might have been playing in a different league further down the pyramid. But listen, thankfully we did make the decisions, as hard as they were at the time. And unfortunately, that first season we struggled with Jim, but the aim that season was to avoid relegation.
Oh God, absolutely.
And even though we done it with only 5 minutes to spare, we still done it. So we achieved. And then last season then was consolidation. I think that run that we went on last season pulled us well clear of any dogfight. So that was achieved. So then we're sort of looking at a 3-year plan at the time. That was Jim's 3-year plan anyway, and we're on track for where Jim wanted to go. Again, it wasn't easy. We had a bit of outside investment. Again, that's been well documented, and last season it allowed us to add a wee bit more quality to the squad.
But that's how football clubs work, and I know people talk about the financial aspect of football at the minute, especially in the Irish League with the increase of it over a couple of different clubs, but it's not a huge thing for clubs to be able to gain financially. Is all part of the process. Clubs need to function by getting money in, so I mean, it's obviously partly your job to help secure the funding or the money coming into the club, but I mean, if you don't have it, you're never going anywhere.
You're going to struggle.
100%.
Yeah, and that's why we did that year. And then last year, we'd had a conversation amongst ourselves, and we were, having conversations with other people, and we found out that we were maybe the 15th highest budget out of the top two tiers.
Yeah.
So that, the top 12, there was maybe one club had less of a budget, but there was a few clubs in the championship had bigger budgets than Ballymena United had in Jim's first season. So is it any wonder we struggled?
We struggled.
I know Loughgall had that great season, but they'd done all their work before Christmas and had that good run and that sort of.
It helps you. Christmas is a deciding
factor. That kick that you get when you're back in the top tier, and that they had that wee bit of a bounce, similar to what Portadown had last year when they came back.
Bangor are certainly doing it this year.
Bangor doing it this year again. So, and then last year it didn't work out for Loughgall. Unfortunately, they went down. But we managed to sort of add a bit of quality and get further up the table. And again, we've added a wee bit more quality this season, but. When you sort of think about it, it doesn't matter how big the club is. If the club doesn't have the budget and doesn't have the money coming in, it just doesn't have it to spend.
Yeah.
And obviously the rules and all have tightened up now. You can't be seen to be losing money consistently over a certain number of years. Otherwise, you can, you don't get your license. You don't get your license, you can't play football. So yeah, it's been tough. We've had to go. Not with a begging bowl as such, but, approaching people and asking people who maybe wouldn't have done before, trying to bring in a wee bit more sponsorship, just trying to do things differently. We look at what we're doing in terms of the shop and the bar and food and all sorts of things, and then compare it to other clubs. And we ask the question, why are we not doing the same?
Yeah.
Smaller clubs are selling more than we were. So we started sort of ripping things apart bit by bit, and started working on a 3 to 5 year plan, and it's paid off. I have to give credit to Liam Wilson has joined us, in a vice chairman capacity, and brings a lot of experience, a lot of business experience, having been in Scotland and had some know-how into how clubs like Motherwell and Queen's Park and that worked, from being there and helping them with sponsorship and being part of that sponsorship. So Liam came in and has helped us. And when you're on your own trying to drive something forward, it's a wee bit more difficult. When you've a sort of sparring partner with you,
it helps.
It helps, because sometimes when you're
are you the good cop or are you the bad cop in these situations?
I'm the good cop.
Right, okay. Let him do the bad.
I'll let him do the.
You always come off a nice round.
Yeah,
in terms of things.
yeah, exactly. Let him do the skull cracking, as they say.
100%.
But Liam coming in, and when I was sort of on my own and I had an idea, if you sort of sitting there and nobody agrees with it, you start to doubt yourself. You start having second thoughts. You think maybe that was a bad idea. But when you've got somebody else backing you up, or they come out with something you think that's a great idea, it's easier to move forward, and it's easier then to bring other people on board with you. And I think by and large, we've done that. We've it's by no means perfect. We're still working on things.
That's sort of like I wouldn't say the rules of a chairman, but it's the same as management. The likes of Jim, having the right people around you makes everybody's life a lot easier.
Yeah, you're only as good as the people around you, and you're, what is it they say, you're only as strong as your weakest link.
Yeah.
So we're trying to improve in a lot of different areas, and there's things going on at the minute that hopefully will bear fruit. Few wee different bits and pieces, even improving the club shop, improving the boardroom, introducing, food on match days that we didn't have. I know we have burger vans and stuff, but introducing food upstairs, having the bar open more, the bar would have been open sporadically in the past. Now we try and get the bar open to every game. Maybe not a wee cup game, there's only a few hundred at it, but certainly every home match the bar will be open. We're looking at putting a bar in at the away end as well.
Absolutely.
Because those fans maybe like a wee beer or two, and they're not getting the opportunity to buy that at the Showgrounds. So we're looking to do that as well. Again, listen, people want us to sign a sort of top striker.
Yeah. I'm injured at the moment, so it's... you need one with both knees as well.
I saw the scar earlier on, Johnny. But yeah, people are looking for us to sign a top striker, and again, we were talking about this at our fans forum the other night. The kind of money, the realization of what a top striker costs these days.
Yeah.
What the other guys are getting paid in the league, and with the transfer fee, maybe a signing on fee, a 2 or a 3 year commitment on decent money. You're into.
This is where I feel like fans are quite naive in terms of how football actually works, because again, still a part-time club, very much so. You've increased maybe the 3 days a week, which is probably falling in line with the majority of clubs. You don't want to fall behind in a way in terms of fitness and different things like that. So I completely understand that aspect of it. In terms of getting and paying the wages out for what you would classify as a top striker, I mean, Ben Kenley's every bit as good as anybody in the league on his day. There's a couple of other boys who have been signed. I think Success is there. Ram McNichols came in recently, who started to do well. He's probably only kind of introduced himself to the league. So it takes time. Do you know what I mean? It's not something you just want to go, oh, it doesn't work now, I'm going to sign someone and pay out this big money, because that person mightn't deliver like the rest of them. Do you know what I mean?
Look at Liverpool.
Exactly.
250 million on 2 strikers. They haven't scored a goal between them yet.
Yeah.
I mean, Wirtz, whatever his name is, has scored more for his country than he has for Liverpool. Mm-hmm. And that happens, and as we're doing this, Man United had just beaten Liverpool, and both of them missed chances on Sunday that they probably would have normally tucked away. So players come in, it doesn't matter the price tag, doesn't matter the money they're on. It takes a while for some people to settle, and then all of a sudden it just clicks and away you go. And Irish League's no different.
No, definitely not. And it is a changing league, as you say. It's very much evolving.
Yeah.
Every year, season on season, every sort of window is pushing people further away from other people, and the gaps are obviously shown in the league through.
Yeah, and I mean, with the part-time clubs versus the full-time clubs, it's hard to compete sometimes. But then the full-time clubs want their squad, and then their squads get too big because you can only carry so many people, and then all of a sudden there's boys that are surplus to requirements, and the part-time clubs can pick them up, and they end up maybe being better with us and the other part than they were with the full-time clubs. So yeah, guys go to full-time clubs, they maybe give up a career, because I'm sure you've had a career yourself and been a part-time footballer. It's a big decision for guys to go full-time, and they think, well, I'm 27, 28, I've only got a few years left at the top.
Job security is
a big thing.
Yeah,
so it's a big decision for people. So there's always a chance that you still pick up somebody that wants to stay part-time because they've got a decent job, and they don't want to risk that job security. So yeah, listen, we're working on a few things, and it's always work in progress. You don't always get what you want. As you say, fans are a wee bit naive sometimes when they think what it's going to take to bring top class strikers to the club. Or top class any position in the field. Everybody else is looking for the same players, and sometimes it comes down to money, and sometimes it doesn't. And we've got quality players in through the door that were offered more money elsewhere.
Absolutely.
But it's because of what's there. It's because of Jim. It's because of the facilities. It's because of other things that we've been able to offer them, accommodation or whatever it happens to be. So it's not always about money, but it certainly helps.
It helps. It does. In terms of me getting you on today, it's fascinating to me, and I do this with a lot of different guests, and it's probably me being nosy more so, because I don't understand the rules of everybody that comes on the podcast.
Yeah.
And football in general has a huge interest in myself, so being a player, potentially being a coach or a manager or whatever it may be, there's people in the positions to be able to relay the information back to me, which I find extremely interesting. And you're actually the first chairman to come on. You're somebody that I've got to know over the last couple of years, and you're somebody who has to make massive decisions. What's that like, stepping into a chairman capacity? As you say, you had no real prior knowledge of being a vice chairman, and then obviously stepping up to become a chairman, but you've been tasked with some big decisions in your life coming into that stage.
Yeah.
And what's that like for you? Because the club has a longevity, it has a plan. Ultimately, probably your plan, like a manager's philosophy, sort of say. But how do you design that philosophy that you want to incorporate over the next couple of years, and
Well, I mean, it's definitely from a decision-making point of view. I mean, when you take Ballymena United Football Club, it was here long before I was, and it'll be here long after I'm gone.
Yeah.
You know, from my point of view, the decisions I've made in my life have been about me and my family, not about this institution that is Ballymena United Football Club. So it's like night and day.
Yeah.
You know, if I make a decision, you know, I'm in the property business. If I make a decision to buy the wrong property, it affects me, not really anybody else. It affects me. It hits me in the pocket. Whereas now it's a wee bit different trying to make decisions on behalf of a football club. I don't make those decisions myself. You know, we have a board of directors there, and we discuss things. We get everybody's opinion. We don't always agree on things, but listen, we try to take as many opinions on board as possible. Sometimes there may be 2 or 3 people that those opinions will be better because they know more about a particular thing, whether it's a business idea and then other people may be more football orientated and they might have more experience on the football side of things. So it just depends who's got skills and experience in what particular thing. But certainly, you know, maybe in the past when I'm as an entrepreneur, a solopreneur, if you call it that, making a decision for me, I could have shied away from making a decision because it was too tough a decision to make.
Yeah.
Whereas now, can't really do that. You know, you have to. The decisions need to be made one way or the other because it's going to impact the football club. And you know, again, maybe it's hard to explain. But I'm not making them for me anymore. I'm making them for the greater good, for the good of the football club. And certainly, I don't like to make short-term decisions. And again, this is where I feel that fans sometimes fans want results now. You know, like you lose one in a row and people are calling for the manager's head. You have one bad performance, people are calling for the manager's head. You've a few players out injured. You know, you've no midfield. People, you know, fans don't really see that. They just see results and.
Well, it also springs the opposite. I think last year we went on an 11 or 12 win streak and probably going to go where win the league.
Yeah,
so
exactly. Expectation just jumped through the roof. I remember people saying probably around the end of September we could win the league. And Jim was one of the first to say, hang on a second.
The wheels are shaking.
Let's just sit down here and calm down because the league's not won in October, you know, or September, October time. But again, you know, at the minute we're a wee bit of an injury crisis. Results aren't what we expect. You know, last week we lost 2-0, but I thought the performance was pretty good for the team that we had out, and you know, a lot of players playing out of position. But listen, when you said that run that we were on 11, 12 games last year, there was no injuries.
No,
you know, we ended up with the injuries after Christmas.
Once we end up sort of losing
Ben and Roxy and we lost 3 or 4 people, and then the results. But we had the full squad to pick from, and you know, when you have that full squad in competition for places, people sort of drive each other on. Absolutely. You know, you want to get in the team and you want to stay in the team. Whereas when you suffer a wee bit of an injury crisis, performances maybe start to drop. I don't know. I'm not saying players do it deliberately, but they get comfortable because they think, well, there's nobody else in my position. I'm nailed on for a start here. But listen, it is what it is. I'm very hopeful that, you know, over the next couple of weeks we start to see players coming back. And we're right now, this minute, we're in a really difficult run of fixtures against full-time clubs with really good squads of players, and after that we're back on against teams that maybe aren't, you know, not the full-time clubs. So there's, I don't know, will expectations rise then? You get more players back and you think you're playing lesser opposition, for want of a better term, and no disrespect to the other clubs, but you know, they're not the top 4 that's there at the minute. So hopefully we can start to pick up some results and consolidate where we are, maybe move up the table a wee bit. But, you know, if somebody had said to me right now, mid-October, you'd be 6th in the table, I'd have took that, you know. There's only Bangor above us that maybe we didn't expect to be there. And as you said earlier, they've got that first season back. I mean, Bangor were playing in the Ballymena Provincial League not that long ago. So, you know, they've invested well. and they've got that sort of kick from being back in the league. So listen, I'd have took that definitely all day long. I would have took it, and we're in a good place as a club in general. You know, the sum of all the parts, I think we're in a good place and we're moving in the right direction, and I'm very confident that'll continue.
One of the big things that you obviously have to do is, I touched on this before, is you make big decisions at the club.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest decisions that you've probably had to make is giving the job to a new manager.
Yeah.
And obviously Jim being in the position where we've kind of had people on the podcast, managers, the likes of Matthew Tipton, who's kind of went through in detail what it's like to be at an interview as a manager.
Yeah.
What's it like having to make the decision on who's going to be the future of the club? I know you touched on saying that Jim's very honest, but what are those situations like to be involved in?
Interviewing.
Yeah.
Interesting, because when we interviewed Jim was the first we interviewed because he was going on holidays, and we sort of found him a slot because he was one of the first to apply for the job. And then there was a number of other people, and we interviewed Jim in one place and interviewed the rest in another place. And Jim was well prepared for the job. And again, going back to sort of comparing what I was doing as a business person, those decisions, if I was employing someone, I lived and died by the sword, you know, that it impacted my day-to-day running of my business. Employing a manager at a football club is going to impact everybody. It's going to impact results, going to impact the fans, going to impact the backroom staff, going to impact the board and committee and God knows what else, and even the mood around the town.
So 100%. Saturdays are quite bleak when you lose.
You know, you see stuff on Facebook and you think, I know how you feel. It ruins my weekend too. You know, when you have to rely on Man United to finish off your weekend with some sort of...
Well, this week you're all right.
Yeah, you're all right.
So
but
I'm not all right this week. Liverpool have
it's not been that
detrimental to me.
That many times recently. But yeah, you know, going back to that interview in Jim, and as I said before, Jim was brutally honest, and we admired the honesty. You know, and some of the other people that came through the door, whilst they did some great interviews, maybe sort of put themselves as if they were going to drive the club further up the table quicker than even we expected, with no resources. You know, I'm not sure whether people thought it was
like a false sense of confidence. To say I can do this. And
absolutely.
Obviously, people are confident in their own ability.
Of course,
they're so entitled to. But at the same time, you're kind of thinking, well, we know the facilities that we have, which is top notch, but we know that the facilities and the people that we're putting into those facilities just aren't as long as we think.
No, listen, I found it very, very interesting. You know, that it was generally the same people that were doing the interviews for all of the for all of the candidates. There was maybe one or two change. I think there was one I couldn't make it and somebody else came in, but it was generally the same people. And so we went through the same process with everybody, and we marked everybody the same. You know, I'm not saying Jim. People didn't think, oh, Jim's the man for the job because he's an ex-player. Because there's always that sense of connection. Mm-hmm. You know, you're sitting there and somebody you don't know versus somebody you do know. You're more comfortable yourself, and it's much more easier for the candidate who's been there before when he's getting interviewed with people that he already knows. So I'm sure it maybe makes it a bit easier for him. I found it interesting. You know, I thought Jim was the man for the job. I was very impressed with what he'd done before we even got to anybody else. Okay. You know, so he's first through the door. He's an ex-player, and you
put a bit of a stamp on that.
You know, I'm sort of saying, well, the rest of you have to beat that. Yeah. You know, Jim wants the job. You can tell he's got a passion for it. There were people that I thought had no passion for it.
Okay,
you know, that didn't know who was in the playing squad. Okay. You know, it's sort of, you know, mentioned players that had left. You know, okay. So yeah, funny.
I mean, you always do your due diligence. Yeah, see when I do that. God, I'm only in this.
Yeah, you know, you have to do your due diligence in a lot of things in life, but certainly when it comes to job interview,
especially when it comes to potentially putting out your starting 11 at the week. Yeah, you like to do your.
Where's he? Oh, he left last year. But. Yeah, interesting. I mean, we made the right decision. Jim's a young manager. He's got a bright future in the game. Mm-hmm. Sometimes our fans might not appreciate that. Yeah. But certainly when you go to other clubs, and I'm not talking about Linfield because he played there, or Carrick because he played there, you go to other clubs, even Glentoran and Coleraine and different clubs in the go, you've got the right man for the job.
There's a respect there.
There is a respect. You know, he commands a lot of respect from not just his football. He's a good guy. He speaks well. You know, listen, he's the right man for the job, and you know, we'll continue to back Jim as much as we possibly can with the resources that we can offer him. And let's see where it takes us. I'm excited about where we're going. I think we're on a journey, and Jim's the right man to lead us there.
Yeah, well, one of the big things, it was kind of like a big statement at the time, and I'd actually spoke at length with Jim in terms of what he had wanted to do. Obviously, when he signs you, there's a plan in place, and nobody wants to come back to a place which is slightly struggling without the idea of where it's potentially going to go.
Yeah.
And the club have obviously put it in where he is potentially going to go full time, and obviously a 3-year contract for him to step away and actually have a focus on the club. But he's not just a manager. He's, just to be clear here, he's not just turning up 2 nights a week and then training on Saturday for a lot of money. It's far from that. And I think whenever it initially came out that Jim was going full time, the people were kind of like, full time, blah, 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 and there's a lot of rumours going around. So just to clear that up, there's a lot more that entails Jim's job than just training and managing.
Yeah, I mean, it would be stupid of us to give somebody a full-time job and them just turn up on a Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday. Well, it was Tuesday and Wednesday, and now Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday. You know, Jim and myself speak a few times a week. He'd speak to Liam more because Liam takes more to do with that sort of sporting role, and you know, player recruitment and stuff like that. And so, I mean, I'm sure Jim's on the phone with Liam an hour and a half every day. You know, Liam's the same, local businessman, pretty much working full time for Ballymena United. You know, we're doing stuff every day of the week. So, yeah, it's, you know, and we've got the changes coming with the youth academy. We're trying to sort of head that off and be a you know, ahead of ourselves. It's not supposed to start till next summer, but we're putting things in place at the minute. You know, we're starting to go into local schools, you know, to do coaching sessions, health and nutrition, maybe a bit of mindset, whatever it is, just things to help, you know, try and benefit young kids, but at the same time, hopefully these young kids become the next generation of supporters, you know.
Absolutely.
And, you know, I've said this before, we're not going to send some of our players that are playing for us and staying locally, send them into schools and where's the manager? Oh, he can't be here today because he's stacking shelves in Tesco's or something. No disrespect to shelf stackers, but, you know, we need a full-time manager.
You wanted it to be a professional setup.
Yeah,
and that's
bring the manager, bring the players, you know, the manager's there. The manager's going to be, we know he's good with the kids. We know he's good with the media. We know he's good with all these outside parties that we need to be connecting with. Jim's definitely the man for that. So, you know, there's that. There's, you know, going and meeting sponsors, you know, especially early in the season when we were doing some signings and going to places like Tully Glass, you know, our main shirt sponsor, and going out to Rightbus, our main sponsor, the Walter Young Group, going in and doing stuff with at Sam's of Ballymena, Sam's Yard, Sam's Boutique. You know, they've had different names over the years, but local people will know who I'm talking about. You know, going in there and doing player signings and stuff like that. So, you know, just connect them with those people, that especially the sponsors, to make them feel as if they're valued at the football club as well. Because I think in times gone past, you know, people sponsored,
just expect them to put their money in and that's it. And
bye, see you later. We'll see you again next year when we're looking at another check. But, you know, we want to build those relationships.
Well, how big, well, probably the best way to say this, but in terms of you coming into your role was bringing the sort of community of Ballymena together into the football club. One of the biggest aspirations that you needed to do was, for me, I think it's the smartest idea. Having the community that the club's based in, a part of it, is probably the biggest and best way for the club to...
No, absolutely, because I think there's been a bit of a disconnect. And people have put that down to maybe not winning trophies, but I don't think that's the case. I think there's a disconnect. You know, people would say when you come into the town, there's nothing that says Ballymena. And listen, I don't know whether that's the case in other towns, but it's of little interest. But, you know, we need to be connecting more with the town. And some of the ways of doing that is connecting with those big businesses that are backing us, and we're seen to be backing them too. Having a presence in the shopping malls, even whether it's at Christmas selling something or having some replica kits in some of the big sports stores, because that seemed to have stopped a number of years ago.
Yeah.
And as one thing stopped, another thing stopped, and it just fed the whole process of withdrawing that connection with the town. And we want to get that back again. And as I say, Jim and the players being there it's a crucial part of that. So yeah, long may that continue.
In terms of Ballymena and the sheer size of Ballymena, we know that over the last couple of years that maybe the support hasn't been there, but I've certainly been there at times where Ballymena easily has one of the top 3 or 4 crowds on their day when they're going well.
Yeah.
And to have that place kitted out really helps. So I think that connecting with the community is probably the best way to get bums on seats, as well as just getting people interactive.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Some of the things we've been doing, like fixing up the boardroom so that we can bring people in and have meals in the boardroom pre-match and stuff like that. Fixing up the club shop so it looks like a club shop, feels like a club shop, and you can basically see everything rather than stuff is sitting on a table. Would have resembled more of a jumble sale than a club shop. But now people are commenting on it so that people can see and sense that things are moving in the right direction. There's change happening, change is in the air. And change sometimes, we know in Northern Ireland about change. Nobody likes change, but when it's changed for the good, I think it's warmly received. And I think we feel that generally the feedback we're getting from people that they can see that change happening and they're fully behind the change. Unfortunately, the change on the pitch and winning trophies maybe takes a wee while longer. But listen, we're working on it. It's not easy, but listen, we're doing our best. We're trying to make things as smooth as possible, as what would I say, like fun and entertaining as possible, and just generally trying to make a good experience for people when they come to the Showgrounds. And as I say, going out and bringing that new generation of supporters in, connecting with sponsors and schools and colleges and any other third party. I mean, and one of the other big things that we're starting to work on too is, like our PR or messages as well. With Alan with Art Media, number of years back, there was nothing going out. There was no connection. Now some of the videos and the content that's getting put out, it's amongst the best in the league.
No, exactly. And I have to say that, I mean, if the podcast wouldn't be here, without Arc Media being able to help and push a lot of videos out, because I certainly wouldn't be having a very good understanding of that side of things either. But
you might not have thought about it either,
Absolutely not, no. So having these opportunities arise and being able to take them and having people push you in the club is probably the best reason why sponsors are actually around.
Yeah, no, 100%.
In terms of Ballymena going forward, obviously there's a lot of rumours around the clubs at the minute in terms of potentially taking over the Showgrounds as its own. I think it's probably been one of the biggest question marks around the club for the last 10-15 years on why does Ballymena not own its own club. And
you've really put me on the spot there, John.
being a council facility, but obviously this is something that I think the club has wanted to do for a long time.
Yeah.
And it would be very beneficial, and I understand that there's maybe red tape around certain things and with the council facilities, but in an ideal world, Ballymena owning its own facilities would be unbelievable.
Absolutely. But I mean, there's multi-layers to that. People would say, if we just buy the arena or buy the whole Showgrounds, the Showgrounds is a big complex.
It's massive.
Even if we had the money to buy it, for one, would the council want to sell it? Because they have to, those facilities that are there paid for by the ratepayers, and they need to provide facilities for mostly football teams, but maybe some other sports as well, and other events. But if we were looking at say the arena, for instance, the arena is no good unless we maybe had some other facilities along with it, because then you're looking at car parking and a training pitch. Because if there's talk now, well, it's been announced that they're going to change the main arena to a 3 or 4G surface, and that will that'll
question marks over that as well.
Yeah, well, I'd be a purist. Football should be played in grass.
I would agree.
And I think the manager's the same, and I think a lot of people around the club.
The only thing that I would strongly say is all we needed to do was maybe employ a good groundsman.
Yeah, well, I mean, the groundsman that they have is good, but unfortunately...
Not to diss the groundsman, by the way. I mean, he's probably been there for a long time. I've seen you with your fort, but come Christmas time...
I think the problem is he's looking after so many pitches and doesn't have the time to be able to focus on the main arena. And then there's obviously other issues with drainage and stuff, and I think they maybe made a wee bit of a mess of the drainage going back to 2018-19.
Yeah, where they just got that... Well, remember that? I remember you used to have to walk up. I think they leveled the pitch out and extended it slightly for Europe and stuff. But
but they say back in those days that they mixed some of the new topsoil with old stuff that had been lying there, and it was soaking, and they put it back down again, and it ended up like clay. And then the water doesn't go through it, and that's why it lies in certain areas of the pitch more than others. But I to be honest, I think maybe the council are concerned that they're not getting good press with the amount of games that are called off, and money has been set aside to do something to the main arena. So that I mean, it'll solve one problem, but maybe create another problem. But as part of our overall funding application,
is this the Department of
the Northern Ireland Football Fund?
Okay.
Previously the Stadia Fund. We've applied for money for facilities, including a new sort of community hub at the back of the goal. So it's not really an extra stand, because based on need, Ballymena United don't fill what we have. So we can't really justify, putting up. People say, "Oh, can we not have two stands to fill it in?" Well, just have two empty stands because it looks good. It's not going to happen anytime soon. So we were looking for a facility that Ballymena United Football Club could call their own. So, the council would still own the ground, but we would own the building. And that's happened in a number of other places, in Green Island and different places where the councils own the ground, but other entities own the actual building that's sitting on the ground. Gives us a wee bit more scope for doing stuff in it. You become a key holder, you can stay longer at night time. It's effectively your building. We'd have to look after it and maintain it. And we're looking at putting a bigger gym in, because the gym.
Yeah. Just under the stand. It's
not big enough. It's not really fit for the purpose that that we want it for.
Also Baltic,
and it's cold.
It's cold.
Yeah. And then maybe a cafeteria type thing that we can use as a facility when other people are using the showgrounds, because currently when people turn up at the showgrounds, there's a couple of vending machines, and if we had our own facility there, that we could design it in a way that it would have, say, a cafeteria stroke cafe that was open inside and outside. The people, they just walk up to it. It can generate revenue. Offices for a women's team that's needed. The gym, maybe like a social area, so various bits and pieces in there, but it's not geared towards, say, the pitch. It's geared towards stuff that happens off the pitch, and it'll give us an opportunity to have facilities that we can call our own, because at the minute, you've been around yourself, that at certain times it's 10 o'clock on a Tuesday night, it's time to go.
Yeah, there's somebody else coming on after you at 9 o'clock.
On the training pitch, or just people need to lock up. You've got council people locking up and they want to get away home. So it's just giving ourselves a wee bit of autonomy for our own facilities. So,
if that does go ahead, and they give the go ahead for the pitch to be changed, then there's going to be another 4G there. They'll have 3 4Gs within 30 metres of each other.
Yeah. Which is good. I mean, one of the good things is, one of the bad things was that when we went 3 nights a week, there wasn't the pitch availability for the team to train on the Wednesday night. Okay. So we've had to go and train outside the borough a couple of different occasions, which is not great. No. Like Ballymena United going and training, and I don't mean Larne or Carrickfergus, I mean outside the Mid and East Antrim area, which is obviously not a good look. So you put a 3G pitch there, that should solve that problem. So, the 20s can play on it. We can train on it 3 nights a week, or train on it a couple of nights and play a game on a Tuesday and play a game on a Saturday if need be, and it'll be able to withstand that.
So the main arena will just be strictly Ballymena's? Or will it be allowed to be, say, rented to another club?
Well, we don't know. That's a council decision. We would hope that it would just be Ballymena's, that we would be playing on it enough that wouldn't be available for other clubs.
Teams played all the reserve games in the opposite week.
Yeah, but the thing is, then once if we were to move our 2 nights training that we do have out the back onto that pitch, that frees up that.
It's more revenue for the council.
The council can rent it out to other people, because I'm sure the council are turning other people away as well, other teams, because there's not enough.
I know there's local teams off the top of my head. I know from speaking to like Wakehurst and different things like that. I know that they would love the opportunity to be Tuesday, Thursday in Ballymena on the pitch, and then I know they play there on the Saturday. So
so with that opportunity,
they're not going to lose out on money.
No, definitely. And then there's because there's other pitches there. The bottom pitch, pitch 3, and then pitch 7. I know pitch 3's got floodlights, but it's grass and it's not in great nick. Yeah. And then pitch 7's just grass. So when you get into this time of year, late September, early October, basically people are playing on it on a Saturday, maybe Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon. That's it. Mm-hmm. So it's getting played on twice a week if you're lucky. And then if it's heavy rain, you might not get 2 games on a Saturday. Yeah. So it's through the winter time from end of September right through to March time, one of those pitches is being played on once a week, because the rest of the week, people are only playing in the evening time and it's too dark because there's no floodlights. So, that some of those people that can't get playing on there's opportunities now to play on the other pitch, because the first team have moved off at 2 nights a week. So, and you would hope that maybe further down the line there's some other 3G pitches end up in the showgrounds and it.
Well, they have them. They have the scope for it. I mean, the sheer size of the Ballymena arena and the actual outside area.
Yeah,
that's there. It's huge. So utilising it from the council's perspective should be one of the main priorities.
Well, yeah. It's just about finding the money, I suppose. And sometimes there's money available. Sometimes there's some grant money available. But yeah, that's work in progress as well. We're trying to work with a council at the minute with a football fund, and they've been good so far, and I hope it continues.
Well, not to put a dampener on things here or get you to go into any trouble in terms of the Department of Communities or the football fund, but the process has came out, and it obviously it's an extenuating process where people have to apply, tick boxes, make sure everything's in line, and do that. And obviously Ballymena has been accepted into the next round of that. But what was that process like as a chairman to navigate? Obviously there's a lot of money at stake and you want to be trying to avail of as much money as possible. So in terms of actually putting yourself in a position to achieve that.
Yeah, well, we started it probably about this time 2 years ago. So 2023, maybe slightly earlier, it was mentioned that there might be money available for a grant for a business plan.
Okay.
And I at that time I kind of thought they're going to give us money to put a business plan together to go and get more money, and I find that sort of a strange concept. That it's surely they put the plan together to go and get the money, but now they're going to give you money to put the plan together to go and get more money. I just, again, being a wee bit naive,
probably a waste of money.
Well, listen, it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And the money that's available, I sort of thought all this. It's going to cost X amount to put that together, and it's documentation, architects, the fees that architects would charge, and you think, is that all you're getting? Because if you were putting an extension in your house, it would be a fraction of the price, and you would get much more detail than that. But listen, when you're in that government grant thing, and you can only avail of certain companies that do these plans, or certain architects that do the have the qualifications or meet the criteria to be able to do that. You have to pick one of these, and all of a sudden the money's a lot more, and you just don't seem to be getting the value for money for it. And I'm not criticising them in any way.
No.
But just that's when you get to that sort of level, you tend to be paying out a wee bit more than you maybe first expected.
It's just because I actually had a meeting with the Department of Communities just after the money was released with the guy in there, and I was trying to understand the process of how it all works. And you're touching on a base there that's they're kind of giving you the option of 3 or 4 people to go and identify and use them. And
yeah,
why would they be given? Like, surely that's internal. Are they government internal, or are they?
I think maybe they've been
freelance.
They might be on a panel of.
Because it kind of seems like if you're a friend of somebody, Could that?
It could.
Do you know what I mean?
It could work like that, but I mean, to be fair, we get a business plan done, and the people that done a fantastic job, and the amount of detail that went into it in the end, you can see why it cost the money that it did. Does it cost a wee bit more than maybe if you were employing them directly to do something? It's like anything with government. As soon as people know it's government, there's an extra zero on the end of it. We'd been talking about the cost of certain things, and and when the council are involved or governments are involved, the price just seems to go up. Because it's not anybody in particular's money. It's
just a pot.
It's a pot
that people feel like
So I mean, there was quite a few pound spent on that process, and then that was put in June last year, I think. Because we employed then somebody to help us with a final submission and what way we needed to put all the documentation. So we had all this stuff, and then it's like, well, what do we do with it now? Oh, we need somebody to show us how to submit it, because and some football clubs have these people around. You get the likes of Crusaders. They have Tommy Whiteside. Tommy's just an expert at this kind of stuff. But unfortunately, we didn't have anybody, so we got someone on side that helped us with that, and is still with us in the process. And then we submitted that. Listen, it would be wrong of us not to go forward. I'll be 100% honest, and I thought we won't be getting anything, because the Showgrounds, when you look at it and you look at other facilities around the country, you think we've no chance, absolutely no chance. And then our name's in the hat for the next round, and it was a shock to be honest. But listen, we're in the pot for the next round.
Yeah,
we've submitted the documentation and part of the due diligence for the next round, and we've had a confirmation that they've received it. I was worried because after a couple of days there was nothing come back. I thought
they're probably still replying to all the hate mail that they've received. Probably
that could be it. Yeah,
a lot of people.
A
lot of people unhappy. I think
sort of legal writs dropped in their doorstep
straight
away.
But
so I was kind of worried, because I was actually away for a few days. I was out of the country, and I'd sent the email, and then when you don't get any, I asked for confirmation, and when it doesn't come back, you kind of start panicking a wee bit. Maybe the email is still sitting in the outbox, but no, it was definitely gone. And I sent somebody a text message, and he says, we'll confirm it tomorrow, and it came back. Yeah, so listen, we're in the hat. We've
in terms of the second sort of process, there is a whole list on the second process that needs to be ticked off, just like the first list. So as much as clubs kind of think that, and a lot of people, maybe fans from the outside, are thinking we're getting X, Y and Z,
we might not.
There's a good chance that most clubs may not receive that if they don't tick off the boxes in section.
Yeah, we might fall by the wayside. Like just with the first lot, there was clubs that thought that they had done a good job and obviously didn't, and they're sitting here scratching their heads going, why are we not in the next round? And there's all sorts of rumours going around about clubs that copy and pasted, that used the same either architect or business consultant, and they copied and pasted. And I don't know if it's true, but they said that
not to be a selfish here, but you don't really care either.
No, it doesn't matter. We're in the next round. No, definitely.
We're happy.
So some clubs had other teams' name and addresses at the bottom or top of the bottom of the page, so they'd literally copied and pasted the whole thing and forgot to leave off the. But listen, I don't know if that's
true.
Okay
if you're doing your GCSEs or something.
Yes, yeah. But
maybe probably not even.
No, maybe not. But no, we're in the next round. This next stage is all about due diligence and the structure of the club's right, and we have permission from the council to go ahead because it's their ground, so you need their permission that we can do that we're not just applying for money and they know nothing about it. And then it's the architectural, what's it called, putting stuff out to tender. We haven't put it out to tender yet because we haven't applied for planning, but we'll then follow a procedure and we'll use some of the people that are recommended or on the panel, so that I'm not sure. They don't want you just going and getting the architect down the street that maybe doesn't have the experience.
Somebody who they can fully trust.
Yeah, that maybe has the track record of doing these kind of things before.
Absolutely.
So listen, we're in, in football terms, we're in the pot for the next round. We're in the hat. So
what does that look like going forward? So kind of just the finish on this sort of topic here, but when would the money potentially be released? When can fans start to navigate and think that stuff may start? Or could this be dragged out from the communities and say?
Well, someone said recently there it could be next Easter.
Okay.
And then other people said that it'll probably run into the end of that year and maybe early 2027. I'm not sure, but I believe there might be an election coming up in 2027, and sometimes they like to get that money out the door
Before it comes in.
before, because then they're seen to be doing something, and you know how politics works. People do things because they think it might win them votes, and these things always tend to happen just before elections because then people remember stuff that's just happened. So I couldn't possibly say whether that's true or not, but
No.
That's the rumour going
Just
around.
speaking in hindsight.
Yeah. Yeah. Foresight.
Yeah.
So hopefully it'd be sooner rather than later, but it's hard to know. If you think it's going to be this year, it's not. If it's going to be next Easter, it's probably not going to be. I'd say it's maybe the back end of next year.
One of the last things I want to speak about is kind of you, and the reason why I kind of want to bring this up is when I was at the club, there was rumours going around that Chris Selwood was only going to be chairman for 2 years, and this is going to be it. I'm going to get the club to a nice position where we're okay, and there's people and processes, and we're comfortable, and you were going to step away. But is that true? And if it is true, what made you stay?
I can't remember if that's true, whether I actually said that or not. I probably did. If I'm being brutally honest, I didn't want to do it in the first place because I didn't think I had the skills or experience to do it. But, as we said off camera, that you learn very quickly. You're sort of chucked in at the deep end and you can sink or swim. And I sort of doggy paddled my way through
the breaststroke first. Front crawl now.
Yeah. So, and then you start to build things and you start to gain a bit of confidence. People just think you walk into a job as a chairman and it's easy. And maybe it is for some people if they've been around a club and watched another chairman. But as I said, I didn't really get that opportunity because of COVID and stuff like that. And, not a lot of meetings going on, so you didn't really know what was going on. So when I first took the job, probably, I was vice chairman and then Matthew stepped down and, you sort of look around the room and there's no hands going up and you think, oh, okay, then go on, I'll do it for a year. But that's it. I'm not committing to anything other than that. So I don't know where the 2 years come from. It was probably 12 months. Maybe. And I thought that'll do me. But that was maybe more so out of fear. I don't think I can do this, but I'll have a go at it because, no one else is going to step in, and I'll see what I can do. I'll give it a shot. And if it doesn't work, and if Calvin McCurry hadn't scored that 85th minute winner against Institute, I'd probably be gone, to be honest, because I would have been in that list of chairmen that had took the club down.
I would have been in a list of players. It would have been too, and I think.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have wanted to come back either, if I'm being completely honest.
So anyway, the fact that, and that, just thinking back on that night, that was like a cup final. Mm-hmm. Actually, I think the buzz of winning that game was probably better than winning, say, a County Antrim Shield or a League Cup final, because that once you win the cup, that's it. That's whereas winning that, knowing the ramifications of losing it, it was just...
It outweighs.
Outweighs winning a League Cup or a County Antrim Shield, because maybe an Irish Cup, because you get into Europe, that's different, or, win the league.
Stakes are too high on it.
Stakes were too high, not to win it. So yeah, and then I thought, well, okay, we've survived that. Things change, few things start to happen. Liam starts to help out, and you think, okay, well, I'll maybe have I'll carry on, see what happens. And then once you do the second year, and it goes okay, you just automatically think, well, unless somebody tells you otherwise, I'll carry on until somebody tells me they don't want me anymore.
Yeah.
And it's definitely an honour and a privilege. As I said earlier, Ballymena United will be here long after I'm gone.
Yeah.
my name will be on the board as a listed chairman, and the bigger that gap is between the first year and the last year, it's obviously, it's something to be proud of.
Absolutely.
And long may it continue. It's not easy.
No.
You know, as we've sort of found out a couple of weeks ago there, you're playing Coleraine at home, we get spanked, passions are high, things get said, but listen, it hurts me as much as it hurts everybody else, and maybe it hurts me more because I put so much time and effort into it. You know, and my own business is different. My own business is me. The more work I put in, the more reward I get. The football club, the more reward I put in, the more reward everybody else gets too. And I wouldn't have it any other way. But yeah, I'll keep doing it. I like it. I don't like it every minute of every day. There's a lot of things about it.
Well, it's, as you touched on at the start, it's a full-time
It is.
You know, it's,
yeah.
You're constantly either talking to fans, you're talking to players, you're talking to management, you're talking to sponsors.
Exactly. And I'm lucky, to be fair, that Mary, my wife, is able to continue working on our business. We work together.
And it's Belfast Property Meet.
Belfast Property Meet, yeah. It's an event that we run, and we have things that sort of spiral off the back and the side and all of that. We run other, it's a networking event. We come together and talk about property investing and, you know, the buy-to-lets and stuff like that. And then, you know, we mentor and coach people in property investing, and various other things. And, you know, we're big into mindset and personal development too. You know, you need to be positive minded to be a chairman of a football club.
Absolutely.
You know, because
just like the players, it's the highs and the lows.
The highs and the lows, yeah.
Feels the fact of bad, and I guess probably no one more than you, considering you're the face and the top of it all. Near enough, you're at the tree, aren't you?
Unfortunately, yeah.
The star at the tree.
I wouldn't say that. I'm not the angel at the top of the tree here, but yeah. Listen, I enjoy it. Maybe in my business, the last number of years, you know, I've been running it now 14 years. In the next week or two, we'll be into our 15th year, and I've been in property for 20 odd years. But maybe having to deal with that mindset and personal development has stood me in good stead for being chairman of a football club. Because if I didn't work on being positive and the personal development, the mindset, all that kind of stuff, I don't think I could do it.
Yeah.
You know, I know that, you know, there's sort of two voices in your head, and one's positive and one's negative, and the one that wins is the one you feed the most.
Yeah.
And I try to drown out the negative stuff as much as I possibly can, and try to remain positive. It's not always easy, especially with social media these days.
So a daunting place to be in.
The best thing about social media is being able to log out.
Or turn the notifications off.
Turn the notifications off, especially after a defeat.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Listen, as chairman of the football club, as long as people want me there, I'll stay. It's not like a manager.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've got a plan. Myself and Liam are working hard and driving the club forward, and there's a lot of other people there that are playing a massive role in it, and maybe aren't getting the credit that we should be giving them, because they don't want the pat on the back. They just want to help. And everybody will know who we're talking about. You know, but yeah, listen. As long as they want us there as well, we'll continue to try and drive things forward. And hopefully, we'll get some just dessert someday. We'll get our rewards and
get that Irish Cup.
Get an Irish Cup. Get into Europe. League. Yeah. Well, one thing at a time.
Yeah, you can.
I would take the League Cup this year, because then you'll get into the final of the playoffs straight away. So yeah, that would be a great start.
Would be.
But even I would take a County Antrim Shield. So yeah, we've a semi-final at home coming up, either against Linfield or Cliftonville. I think, is that tonight? Maybe one of the other quarter-final. So yeah, we'll know maybe by 10 o'clock tonight who we play at home in the semi-final. And listen, you're at home in the semi-final, gives you a good chance of getting into the final.
And as I say, it's a one-off game.
It's a one-off game. You never know.
You never know. So, yeah, fingers crossed. Well, listen, thank you so much. As I say, I've really enjoyed our time together. I think that you've came in, you've put your stamp on the club, and you've really steadied the ship there. And obviously, I'm a big fan of Ballymena and what you're doing. So it's an absolute pleasure to have you sit down and have this conversation.
Thank you very much, Johnny.
We
appreciate
finished
it.
with hugs is the only thing.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
No problem.
Join us next week on the On the Spot Football Podcast for yet another fantastic guest. I'm not going to give any insight to who it may be, but I will ask you for something. Please like, share, follow, and subscribe to all the channels. We have been increased the numbers of all of our viewers over the last couple of months, and we want to keep it going. Thank you so much for all of your help. See you soon.